Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in Guerilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Jesse Montano. Going to be joined by my good friend Meghan Angley here in just a minute. We're going to round out the week by talking about what was a really fun night last night at Ball Arena on Heritage Night. It was the Quebec Nordiques taking on the Hartford Whalers in a game that looked like it was from the 1980s. And then kind of played out like it was a game from the 1980s. We're going to get into all of it. But first, I want to start by telling you guys about our great friends over at RefiJet. Did you know that you could refinance your auto loan? Well, with RefiJet, you can save around $150 every single month, all which is a soft credit pull and zero hassle. Flexible terms, lower payments, maybe even some cash back right in your pocket from your car's equity. RefiJet does the work. You get the savings. Start today at RefiJet.com, the faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome in. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley. We are here on a Friday afternoon. Meghan, it was a game that ran a little bit later than normal last night for a few reasons, and then we get overtime, we get the shootout. How are you doing this? I almost said morning. How are you doing this early afternoon today after a late one last night?
I'm doing all right. I kind of liked doing the show today instead of trying to do our post-game piece immediately after, because the more time I had to think about it, the more I had different thoughts about the game that I thought, ooh, I like that. That's going to be better tomorrow. I wouldn't have come up with that immediately after.
Well, for me, and I thought Jared Bednar really, I don't know if exemplified is the right word, but I thought the way he spoke about the game was the most apt of that first period was bad for the Avs, just sloppy, but really on the whole, they really kind of dominated that game. Almost 50 shots on net, nearly doubling up the Carolina Hurricanes. So I'm with you. I think maybe in the moment that game felt a little bit crazier than maybe it actually ended up settling in to be. But yeah, it was definitely a night that guys were fighting the puck. Goalies were fighting the puck. Like I said off the top there, it had the flow and recklessness of a game from the 80s.
Well, I wasn't alive. So.
I mean, neither was I. I don't know why I'm laughing. Neither was I.
So I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I got to address this just because I was given shit immediately when I got into the office. My dogs are out today with a full hoodie and sweatpants outfit.
That's funny. We're both doing open toed.
We are. See, all right. We're not matching colors, but we were matching somewhere. I'm house sitting for my parents, and I've ended up being here much longer than I planned.
Okay.
So I need to do laundry when I go home tonight, but I was out of clean socks. So
bottom of the barrel.
It was an open toe day. And I've caught a glimpse of my dogs already a couple times on this show. And I just wanted to address.
For free?
Right. Yeah. I wanted to address why I'm out here just giving these things away.
Wow.
But yeah, like you said, wasn't alive in the 80s. So
sorry.
Let's just start, right here off the top, Meghan. The visuals. What did you think?
It was beautiful. I love the contrast of the colors between both teams too. I think having both do the throwback was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been quite the same if Carolina was in regular jerseys. So I'm happy that they did Whalers, Nordiques. And it was a bit weird to the eye to see the Avs in the Nordiques jerseys, because something about seeing them in the same Nordiques uniform made them all look the same to me. It was harder to distinguish them from one another, even though they wear the same jerseys all the time.
Right. Yeah, well, it was those blue jerseys look just a teeny, and I've always felt this way. Like the full Nordiques kit, I've always felt just looks a little bit jammy-ish.
They kind of just morphed into one because of the continuity in the uniform.
It's a lot of blue. It's a lot of one color. So I totally understand what you mean. I loved the commitment to it of the uniform. Like you said, not only was it both sides wearing it, but like, the gloves have the white color blocking the way that the Nordiques used to. I thought the pants looked great. The socks looked great. I thought seeing it all out there. Yes, there was a lot of buildup and there was a lot of talk around the lead up to the release on these. But ultimately, Megan, I thought they did a good job. And hey, kudos to the league. I said on this show last week, I said, I don't know if the league is that fun that they would give us Nordiques and Whalers. And they did. I just wanted to, sorry, I was just getting a picture loaded up real quick. There's Gabe.
And Sam Alinsky.
On the ice. Oh, well, if you want a Sam Alinsky one, I've got a Sam Alinsky one. But Megan, to your point, I just, I loved the contrast. I loved, and you can see it just a little bit in this picture, from warmups. If you relaxed your eyes a bit, weren't quite sure what you were looking at, like you could pass this off as a game from the 80s and that it was, Nordiques and Whalers. And I love the commitment. Both goalies, Scott Wedgwood's night ended up being a little bit shorter.
I was sad about that for Scott Wedgwood, the commitment to the bit between his helmet, the pads. And it looked so cool to see them opposite each other on the ice.
Right. Like both goalies understood the assignment, kind of thing, So yeah, while Scott's night maybe didn't last as long as he probably would have liked, even just the visuals of them warming up next to each other, like at the red line, with all the throwback stuff. There he is.
Give the people what they want.
Right. I was going to say, I understand. I know what people are looking for, but no, like this to me, all jokes aside, with Sam, like this to me is what made this night cool. Seeing guys like Sam Alinsky in the old Nordique stuff, seeing Nathan McKinnon, Gabe Landeskog, like they've, we've seen the nostalgic Forsberg and Sakic Nordique jerseys for years. I thought it was awesome to see, the current Avs that you and I have spent so much time talking about, and talking about how we think this could be a special group and the makeup of these players and all that to see them in the old gear. Like I just thought it was great.
I like the shade of blue. I thought the collar was giving bib a little bit.
Okay,
white collar.
What did you think about? So like here on the back side of the jersey, it looks fine, but it's
the front
thick.
side, it was a little funky. And Michel Goulet was in the house, so I thought that was very appropriate. He's Hall of Famer and set records that haven't been touched, but have come close.
Yep.
With the Nordiques, so that was a really cool full circle thing to have him back.
Well, and I loved that and then there's a shot of Wedgie and Parker Kelly, who picks up his first goal of the season last night as well. But yeah, Megan, like I liked the fact that the intro video that the Avs did, they incorporated, instead of, it's usually a highlight kind of hype reel of the season. Instead of, doing a lot of stuff from this year, they incorporated Nordique's highlights and Peter Forsberg and Joe Sakic scoring and, those kind of classic goal calls. When everyone got into the building before warmups, they were airing a 90s game between the Nordiques and the Whalers just on the Jumbotron. I thought that was fantastic.
It was cool to see like stat cards for a baby Peter Forsberg pop up.
Yes. No.
Like, this guy, I think he's going to be good.
Right. Here's a young guy that might turn out to be pretty good. Yeah. So, it was just cool. I loved the commitment to it from every, from the whole production. And we're going to see him 6 more times. Looking forward to those matchups against the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs and the Penguins and all that. So shout out to the Avs, shout out to the league. I think when the dust settled and it was all said and done, I think they did a great job.
Yes.
It looked great. And we get to see this jersey matchup one more time this season. Come January in Carolina, we will get Nordiques Whalers one more time. Anything else on the jerseys, uniforms, anything like that? Let's get into this game. Casual defense, I thought, was a great way to sum up what that first period was. And that was how Jared Bednar described it. Megan, that first goal, we both said, I'd like to see Scott Wedgwood take maybe a better angle on that one. And sure, you could look at all four of those goals. That fourth one, you'd like him to be a little bit stronger there on the goal line, et cetera, et cetera. But all four of those goals, there's pretty major breakdowns that happen in front of him, including on the fourth goal that ultimately gets him the hook. Turnover, 4 guys fly the zone off a face-off that they won, controlled. Guys were assuming this puck is getting up and out. Suddenly you've got like a 2-on-0 in front of Scott Wedgwood. Gabe Landeskog was very clear to say in the postgame, we don't put that on Scott. None of those goals. Let's just start with the first. How did you see that unfold? How did the Avs end up behind the 8 ball so drastically so early in this game?
Yeah, I think what frustrated me is it felt like a continuation of what I didn't like about the Utah game.
And you mentioned that in real time as it's unfolding. You're like, this is what you're going to come back with after the Utah game?
And so my big picture immediate reaction to this game too is, okay, I'm glad that they're going through this in season, because this is triggering to my wound from the Dallas series, because they fall behind and then they throw everything but the kitchen sink, claw their way back into this game, and, kind of make up for some of those early mistakes, and they still fall short. Mm-hmm. Because that's what would happen in the playoffs if this game were to play out in a 7-game series. And so it's traumatizing because the Avs were dominant for, the final 40 of this game, and that's obviously not enough. And so anyways, you asked me about the first period, so I'll pull it back into the first period for a second, but it's self-inflicted. Mm-hmm. That first goal, they get caught in a bad change. And so, yes, you can look at that and say maybe you would want Scott Wedgwood to have a little bit more of a read on this, because it's short side over the blocker. Maybe that is more of a routine save, but the Avs shouldn't be caught in a change like that. That's a routine thing that should not be a liability. And then similarly, you're talking about that Stankoven goal late in the period. I have an entire paragraph of what I don't like about this, and I really don't fault Cale Makar. It's an obvious mistake, but it's also clear to me what his intent was. It wasn't like he was cheating the game in any way, and that's how this mistake gets made, where it's Taylor Hall who blocks that puck. Like, Cale Makar even has a little bit of a stick on Hall trying to get that pass to inner ice. Cale Makar is very aware of what's happened here. It's just an honest mistake, whereas some of these other mistakes aren't so honest, is what I think is frustrating me about it. And I give McKinnon and Taves, who are the 2 players that are not as quickly as maybe they should coming back, because they're not aware that something has gone wrong behind them until they're not, like, where's Cale with the puck?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, wait a second here. So you see their bodies, their faces fully north. Until it's, Taylor Hall. I almost keep wanting to say Taylor Makar, so please forgive me if that happens. Taylor Hall has that puck where things have gone awry, that you see the body language, the head turn from both Taves and McKinnon, kind of aware of it at the same time. And so Taves makes the effort to get back to the net front. And I think Taves sees Jackson Blake, who's going to the net front there, as kind of his assignment. And so I like that at least he has one in mind. I would have liked to see Taves, who does make the attempt to get the stick out to block the pass from Blake to Stankoven opposite him getting to the net front. Taves has such a good stick, very long reach too, as we joke about sometimes. But, if that had maybe even just stopped that pass to Stankoven. But obviously the issue then is McKinnon not claiming Stankoven as his assignment as wholeheartedly. And even then, like, the awareness of Taves, like, McKinnon is not going to cover Stankoven. He's just not going to get there in time. And that's where the frustration comes in of, could McKinnon have thrown on the Jets and gotten there, or at least posed more of a threat to getting there?
Yeah.
All that to say, Taves could have then pivoted his assignment to. So like there's a breakdown in the net front coverage there that is frustrating, and it's born from a mistake. So again, it's kind of a fluke with Makar and the puck and what could have been a clean breakout and just wasn't. But the lack of awareness, right? Like just that you have to be prepared for things going the wrong way. Kind of similarly, like that goal that gets called back in the Utah game, right? You want to see them be prepared for mistakes to happen and to just address it quickly. And so I just think that there was an overconfidence on a play like that. And then a lack of a commitment and getting back to correct that mistake that frustrated me, because even something like the shorthanded goal against.
Well, so hold on, let me pause real quick on that, on the Stankoven goal, because I thought that goal in particular exemplified casual defense.
Yes.
That Jared Bednar was talking about, because four guys are heading out of the zone when Cale Makar is, again, clean face-off win. Cale Makar is corralling that, and it's Cale Makar. I think it's
There's
a fair assumption,
right?
It's a fair assumption and a ton of trust there that, yeah, Cale Makar is going to get the puck up and out of the zone. When there is a turnover, the fact that the two Carolina players recognize it a half second to a second and a half before Taves and McKinnon do. So they're already going back towards the net.
That's what draws McKinnon and Taves' attention. Like, wait, where
are they going?
Where are they going?
Right. And so Nate kind of like does like a half stick tie up as Stankoven's skating away. And again, like it just, when you're watching them both, it just kept looking like they were expecting like, this puck will get loose and we'll get going back the other way. Like Nate just didn't seem like in a hurry to get back. And again, like it just, when you watch it back, you sit there and you're trying to like put yourself in his shoes. Like what's going through his head? Is it, that's still kind of a contested puck. It's going to come back up the other way. I can't get there in time. What is it? And then even Taves, who to your point is getting back in that lane and is trying to get, there's just like a lack of aggression in the way that he's battling for that puck in and around the crease and trying to tie guys up. He's physically there.
I want to see more of an active stick.
Yes. But it's just like he's physically there, but he's just not engaging in the way that you want. And casual, I think, is just a great word for that. And so I just wanted to get that in there of like, when you hear Jared Bednar say casual defense, what does that mean? In my opinion, watch the Carolina fourth goal. That's what casual defense looks like.
I think too, as you bring it up, I tried to put myself in Nate McKinnon's shoes, and I will never pretend that I could be in Nate McKinnon's mind.
Right.
But his body language, it appears to me that he thinks that's a routine save from Wedgwood. Like, Wedgwood's got this. He's going to throw out the pad save, and it's going to be fine. And so what's frustrating there is it's wholesome that he has that trust in his goaltender, and it's wholesome that they have that trust in Cale Makar. But this was something that was preyed upon in the Dallas series, specifically with Cale Makar on the breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Cale Makar and Taves have to work together, like especially when the margin for error is as thin as it is in the playoffs. It's something that teams will pick up on, and so they'll try to capitalize on a player like Makar single-handedly trying to break out the puck and transition play up ice. And so it's something they need to be cognizant of. Like, that trust in Makar is very wholesome, but it is also something teams are going to key in on. And so similarly, wholesome, the trust in Wedgwood, but Logan Stankoven should not be able to stick handle a puck in the blue paint. And that's what happens. And he bobbles it a little bit. Like, it's not even this master class, but there should be sticks in there, whether it's Taves, whether it's McKinnon. There should not be a player that has that kind of liberty to be stick handling in the crease.
Well, and you get what the idea is there with the one-man breakout with Cale Makar. We're trying to win a face-off, and we're trying to transition from, which the Avs are great at. And, I talk to Corey Masasak about it all the time, and Corey's been around the league for a long time. He's covered a lot of teams up close. He's worked for the league, so he's covered the league on a national basis. And Corey has talked about, this is maybe the best team he's ever seen at, we're defending, now we're on the attack. And so you get it. It's, hey, we're trying to suddenly get numbers up ice right off this face-off that, Carolina's got an ozone face-off. Suddenly they're on their heels defending. But to your point, when teams are able to key in on that and expose it a little bit of, hey, if you can cut this breakout off at the knees here, you can turn into a really quick offensive zone opportunity for your team immediately. And so again, I understand the thought process there. And like you said, it's great to have a player that you trust that much. That, hey, they're going to get the puck up and out, but that's the risk you run, is if teams are keying in on that and they're able to stifle that initial breakout pass and cause some chaos, you've got to be able to get on your horse and get back as quickly as you were wanting to get up ice.
And that's where I look to a player like Taves. Like, all right, it's understandable that Nathan MacKinnon's ready to be on the attack. He just won the faceoff clean. Cale Makar is in possession of the puck. I want to see Taves maybe just ensure a little more safety in support of Cale Makar, because truthfully, they break out the puck very well together when they work together, and that became more effective in the Dallas series when they leaned on each other rather than single-handedly relying on Makar. I think Taves is a great player for that role too. So anyways, a lot of things break down there. Casual defense, as you mentioned. And I think too, I don't want to say overconfidence. Like, I don't think the Avs underestimated Carolina. But I do think that where Carolina was most committed is actually what won this game. And so the thing that I think of is going to sound really silly at face value. And that is, this game wasn't won by who scored the most goals. And I know literally that is actually what decides the hockey game.
Technically, last night, both teams scored the same amount of goals.
And so that's what made me feel a little righteous in saying this. And what I was going to point to more than anything is the team that was committed to the defensive details for the longest is the team that won. So even though the Avs had the dominant offensive effort for 40 minutes of this hockey game, because Carolina was more committed defensively for the full 60, that's ultimately what won them this game. Because their commitment is what made things so challenging for the Avs, who put on a lot of the offensive weapons later in this game to break through. And that was tying up sticks and managing their lanes. And that attention to detail also allowed them to capitalize on the mistakes of the Avs early. So like that shorthanded goal, that's just a tough one. I think I won't get into it too, but the other thing is the depth of Carolina was deeply tested in this game. Their penalty kill deeply tested in this game, and they're down a lot of their key penalty killers. And it's something that I'm going to register as significant and keep back of mind moving forward.
So that's where I was going to go. Megan, and again, I don't even look at this game and say that I think Carolina's 5-on-5 defensive details were that elite. The Avs were putting a lot of shots to the net. The Avs were getting to Freddie Anderson, where I think Carolina's defensive details, to your point, I mean, just sparkled, was on the penalty kill. Yes, the Avs power play struggled. They got one. You go 1 for 8.
They had to battle and fight and claw their way just to get that goal.
Just to get the one. When I looked at that power play, as much as, yes, you can say the Avs power play struggled, I thought Carolina's penalty kill was nails. And it was a moment where, like, it was clear that they had done their homework. They knew what the Avs tendencies were, where the Avs wanted to go, how they wanted to bring the puck into the zone. And I mean, they were, like a dog on a bone. Like, I mean, they were just puck hounds. They were winning battles, getting pucks 200 feet. Not that their 5-on-5 defensive details weren't also good. I just thought on the penalty kill, I was more so than like I'm looking at the Avs saying, yeah, I'll bet you they are frustrated and pissed because this doesn't look good. I was just sitting there going, tip of the cap. That is an outstanding penalty kill.
And so this is something I'm going to be looking at, because they have one of the best penalty kills in the playoffs, one of the best penalty kills in the regular season. It's just a strong aspect of this team. And so it points to such a good structure that they can have not their maybe first on deck penalty killers out there, and it's still very effective. It's a penalty kill worth looking at. And Parker Kelly has name dropped it specifically as one that they look to loosely, like they still want to do their own thing, but they do look to it to draw inspiration from, for a very good reason. And what I was going to say too is you're right about the defensive details 5v5, and where they really tripped Colorado up is Colorado could get pucks on net and Freddie Anderson came up with the saves, whether by, intentionally the right positioning or just being a bigger body, he was dialed. And look, tip of the cap to Freddie Anderson for a great night in net. And so then those rebounds, that's where I think Carolina also particularly shine. Avs could not get a stick on the rebounds because their sticks were tied up so effectively by Carolina. And I think, too, it was just that aggressive defense. You see it on the penalty kill. You see it in how they're defending their net front, at least from the rebound opportunities, right? Yeah. Like those pucks are getting to the net, but it's really hard for the Avs to do very much with them. And so that was frustrating a little bit. And that shorthanded goal was tough because it was born from an aggressive PK. Like Brindley had gained the zone using his speed, but he was pressured. And so he kind of had to panic, move on from the puck, and get it to Nichushkin, to Burns. And it was sloppy and kind of haphazard that Landeskog turning over the puck and dropping it back. And what I think he hoped was going to be Nichushkin there, I think was born because that entry was not smooth. It was panicked. And so I think that is credit to a really aggressive PK that forced that second power play unit to make some quick decisions that weren't necessarily the safest ones.
1 for 8 on the power play for the Avs, 0 for 5 for the Carolina Hurricanes. It was a penalty heavy game. I want to key in on something here, and then let's, we can move on to the second and third period. Dallas in that series last season, what struck, I think, both of us as we were watching those games was how much they were contesting the perimeter. The Avs are a team that obviously that power play runs through Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, but so much of what they try to do is, again, I think in theory, right? I don't necessarily know if we've seen this play out super effectively this season. You want to draw attention to those guys. You have so many shooting threats. And I think the idea is you try to draw guys out of position. And then because you have great shooters, you're trying to open up those seams so you can move pucks through the middle of the ice from, Marty Netjes to Nathan MacKinnon, slide out a little bit, let Cale Makar drive down and, move it. You're trying to open up those seams and lanes. And what it seems like teams have picked up on, because Dallas did it so effectively, really contesting those pucks outside and not giving the Avs a ton of time to draw defenders out to them. They're kind of forcing the Avs to make these decisions really quickly and kind of snap these passes around maybe faster than they would like to. And it's just kind of causing chaos for the Avs, and they're not able to establish themselves and open these lanes and seams in the way that they'd like. Megan, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an NHL level power play coach. I know how to fix that. But when I think back to the last time that we saw this group, the post Mikko Rantanen power play be really super effective, was near the end of the regular season. Nathan MacKinnon, Marty Netjes, Cale Makar were rovers. They were interchangeable at all three positions. You didn't know where Cale Makar was going to pop up. You didn't know where Nathan MacKinnon was going to be. And just when you got a grasp on where Nathan MacKinnon was, Marty Netjes slid into that one-timer spot and was finding himself open. Do you have just any thoughts on this? Again, that's a really easy thing for me to say. I'd like to see more movement. I'd like to see more interchanging between Marty Netjes, Nathan MacKinnon. When you're looking at this, I think the Avs need to make a little bit of a fundamental change to how they're approaching this power play. It seems as if teams have kind of gone to school on what the Dallas Stars did. And it's like, hey, yeah, take away that time and space around the perimeter and we'll take our chances in the middle of the ice. And you've got to do something to adjust to that.
Yeah, I think the big picture would be that critique of the power play. But I also do see where they are trying to incorporate some more movement, some more rotation, getting pucks to the middle of the ice. And oftentimes they're stopped. And so the Avs are trying to reset, reload, and recycle, basically. And so I think sometimes they find themselves overcycling the puck. And so on the surface, that sounds like movement, but not all movements created equally. And maybe that's where, the critique would be is I think they are trying to add a little more variety to what they do. So they'll reset and they'll retry something a bit different from what they just tried, but it's still a bit predictable because it typically relies on Makar at the point in some way. I think that what Marty and Nate are trying to figure out together, there's some deception, but it's not enough just yet. And I think it's being picked off too. And so
Mhm.
what I would say, it reminds me of the game
Go ahead, keep going. I was going to
where
ask you a question.
they put the little ball or the under the shell and they're moving the shells.
Yeah.
And if you're following it, it's actually not that hard to win that game. That's what
a great analogy.
That's what it reminds me of. Is there, there's this movement, but everybody knows where the ball is.
As long as you're paying attention.
Yeah, as long as you're paying attention.
So let me ask you this. And again, like what I'm about to say here is like a super surface level hockey thought. But I had someone in reply to me last night as the Avs were heading to their 6th power play of the night. And they said, I want to see 2 shots for every 1 pass. And I kind of just chuckled, but in the vein of what we're talking about here, and I think that's an excellent example that you just gave. Does it feel to you maybe a little bit like teams aren't feeling the threat to shoot as much? So it's, pressure get in the passing lane. They're not going to shoot it. They're looking for the right lane, the right pass, the right guy to be open from a purely, 3,000 foot view. Make yourself more of a shooting threat. Get out on that next power play this week tomorrow afternoon and rip 4 shots before anybody, makes a perimeter pass. Win that faceoff back and Cale Makar snap it on net. Make 1 pass, Marty Netchus, put it to the net. Make teams believe, oh, we gotta respect this shot here. Like I said, from a real just step back view, is that something that resonates with you? Teams are banking on them overpassing here and trying to pass the puck into the back of the net.
Well, it's
a
self-fulfilling prophecy because
it's way oversimplified.
That is my critique. Is I think it's 1 pass too many too that I'm seeing where I'm like, oh, just shoot it. And so the other thing that I'm seeing, whether it's
we had that one Ross Colton last night. You and I in unison went, shoot that puck.
And you know what? I want to give credit. He did eventually just start shooting, and I love. This is a separate conversation, but I love the shooting instinct of the whole of the decor right now. Danson Manson. Talk about him in a second. This is separate from the power play, though. Sticking to the power play, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm thinking, feeling, right? The overpassing around the perimeter and overpassing or like overcycling on the strong side of the puck. I think where they have been most dangerous is it's like the cross slot, cross crease pass. And those are a little harder to get off because you've got aggressive lane management on behalf of these kills. But I think that is kind of the risk it for the biscuit. High risk, high reward, maybe, is the philosophy for the Avs power play that I'd like to see them embrace. Because, in seeing them cycle the puck on the strong side, that's Marty and Nate on the same side of the ice moving that puck. I want to see them moving it to guys opposite them. And honestly, I think like the Val Nichushkin goal kind of captures a little bit of everything that we're saying, right? Like that puck gets on net and Val Nichushkin's there to pick it up. And it's Olofsson just putting it there. Like, I'm not even sure that the intention behind Olofsson's shot to the net is goal. I think it's just get it to the net. Val is there. And so I like that too. Like, again, I want them to be thinking goal, but also just net.
You've got between Val Nichushkin, Gabe Landeskog, Arturi Lehkonen, and even big Brock Nelson, you've got great net front guys. Get the pucks there and let those guys go, clean it up, battle for it. And if nothing else, that's going to cause a scramble in front of the net. If that puck, jumps back out, now you've got the defense on their heels running around a little bit. Pucks to the net. I think right now when your power play is struggling, pucks to the net is never a bad thing.
When I say movement, here's what I mean. It's make the goalie make a save, make the goalie move laterally. So that's, whether that's getting the puck on net and moving it to the opposite side, the weak side, right? Like, just, that's what I mean by movement, is make the goalie make the save. Don't keep it on the same side.
With that, I just wanted to hit, because I think this is an important thing to key on here. And I actually was having this thought as I was leaving the game last night. Like, you could absolutely see at some point in this season, this power play turning and it's just clicking and suddenly it's, going at one of the highest clips. With the comment here in the chat, with the power play and some of the mistakes, I'm not worried about it yet. New power play coach needs time. they're trying different looks. Dave Haxtell is they're trying different things. Not saying that's an excuse. You went 1 for 8. You went 7 games in between power play goals, or whatever, 6 games, whatever it was. You need to get stuff cleaned up, but I'm pretty far from hitting the panic button on the power play.
No, because the thing I'm looking at is, Haxtell aside, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, the personnel is too good to be having this result. Like, that's weird. It's a bit of an anomaly, and I want to give it time to sort itself out, because that has to be bigger than the coach at that point. There's just too many talented players across both units with a history of success on the power play for me to believe this is going to persist in this way.
I mean, Megan, again, I can't remember if I said it to you or to Arif last night. I said, with the personnel you have on that power play, you should be backing into a power play goal every couple of games. Like,
everyone knows what the Edmonton Oilers are.
Right.
Everyone knows who the weapons on the Edmonton Oilers power play are, and it's still dangerous. And it's still, like, Dallas's penalty kill fell apart against Edmonton's power play. And so you can have the same personnel and do some of the same things that bring you success and still be effective. But it is important for the Avs to embrace some newness on this power play too. Because you're right. I do think some of what has brought them success has become predictable. But I think they have a skill set that allows more deception than we've seen so far.
No, I completely agree with that. Starting in the second period, and Jared Bednar even mentioned it last night. Like, you really even make the argument in the first period they maybe had more chances, I think is the right way that I'll say that. Even in the first, but really second period on, you felt it. You saw them pushing. And you commented, even in the first period when it was 4-1, you liked more of what you had seen out of the bottom 6 than the top 6. And Megan, right now, this week, it wouldn't be an Avs game without a weird, controversial review. The Avs get a goal. They break through Parker Kelly from Sam Malinsky on a deflection. I noticed it on the initial replay. I'm not really sure why Parker Kelly reached out for the puck, but he definitely, he put his hand out as that puck was going by him, and it looks like that was what the puck deflected off of and went in. Carolina challenged the goal, and I thought it was a weird challenge because when the puck went in, and we saw a couple replays, we started saying in the press box, like, did that go off Parker Kelly's glove? And I said, I think it did. I don't think that's challengeable, though. I think that's a review that's got to be triggered by Toronto to say, hold on, we don't know if this goal was scored legitimately. So Carolina takes their timeout, and then at the very end of that timeout, when they're finally being waved over to center ice, does Rod Brindamore say, we'd like to challenge for a missed stoppage? I don't think that I don't know if there was any way that Rod Brindamore was going to win that challenge. I don't think that was a missed stoppage of play. It wasn't a hand pass. You are not allowed to propel the puck into the net with really, Megan, anything but your stick. Almost anything but your stick. You're not allowed to propel the puck forward. The puck is allowed to deflect off of all kinds of different things, especially when it's unintentional. Parker Kelly's goal, good on him to get on the board. I think he's been working hard. Did you have any thoughts on that review or just that goal, how it all goes down in general? Sam Malinsky picks up another point here.
Yeah. Malinsky was a part of that willingness to shoot in the decor. I see the confidence building in his game. There's a play that I think was ultimately offsides, but he just flew to the blue line to take a shot. And it's rewarding, though. And I like to see kind of the production pace that he's on to start this year. And it does seem born from a willingness to shoot. The Avs needed that, too. Obviously, to kind of just get in this game and feel that there was some sort of a path back in. So credit to Malinsky for putting it on it. I don't really have much to say about the challenge. I kind of understand the intention. It's like, well, I don't have the means to dispute this, appropriately, so I will use this kind of unconventionally. And because it's unconventionally, it's not going to reward Brenda more.
I really looked at it from like a strategic standpoint if they were trying to just stall long enough to give the Situation Room a chance to see if they would say, yeah. But Meghan, go ahead.
It's a trust in their PK too. Like most coaches' challenges are like, okay, we have the stake of maybe going on the kill after this if we're wrong. And there's almost a ballsiness of that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, we just scored shorthanded a period ago, so it would be fine.
We'll take our chances.
Yeah.
Then really, Meghan, it felt like, and I guess we kind of glossed over it a bit. We mentioned that Scott Wedgwood's night was done. Trent Miner comes in relief. The first, look that we get at him. Want to give the kid a little bit of fucking credit here. Pads accidentally matched outstanding. He looked great.
He did.
Like the blue that the Eagles used just so happens to be an extremely similar blue to what the Nordiques jerseys were. So even, going in, he didn't have the full vintage set, but it played. He looked great. And then his play, it wasn't overly tested, but Meghan, when it was all said and done, he made 20 plus saves, including a couple big ones down the stretch when the penalty trouble kind of flip-flopped from Carolina being on a parade to the box to the Avs get the game tied. And then they decided it was a good time to start just sending guys to the box one right after another. I absolutely hate the matching Miner Jack Drury call, but that's neither here nor there. Trent Miner had to make some big stops, came in, played well, and then really he gets beat once in the shootout on a shot he almost got, and then made two big stops. But it started in the second period. He was able to come in and calm things down a little bit. You got a new goalie in. The Avs intensity seemed to dial up. You get a goal back. Trent's playing well. The Avs were able to go into that third period and just really start to build. Haven't even mentioned Val Nichushkin's name yet because wow, what a game he had.
That's the storyline in this game. But also Trent Miner, I wanted to give him some credit, right? Coming in hasn't played a game yet this season and really only saw minimal action in preseason, right? The expected goals against came in 1.57. Obviously, he doesn't allow any until the shootout. And the high to medium danger shots that he faced was 8, and he stopped all 8. So, sure, maybe only 5 shots allowed in that second period and a lot of penalty trouble in the third period that tested him so much more. And he gave the Avs a chance to win in this game. And they showed up with an effort of their own to launch this comeback too. But a lot of that is sparked by Trent Miner. And what's tough about Trent Miner, and this isn't his fault, is I look at that Brock Nelson penalty early in the second period or like at midway point. Early into Trent Miner coming into the game. And he takes a tripping penalty trying to defend coming back because there's a lack of trust. And we talked about this with like Georgiev, Anunen in the past, how the team might play a little differently in front of a goaltender that they maybe have a little less trust in. And again, in Trent Miner's case, he's coming in cold and he hasn't played yet. So it's not as if he's done anything not to have the trust. It's just not had a chance to be created either. And so it's frustrating that makes this comeback a little bit more challenging for the Avs because I do think some of the penalty trouble they run into is one, they're just trying to defend their chance in this game, but also they do have a young green goaltender who's come in cold and they played like it at points out of desperation. And so that's kind of the price you pay too, but it's just an interesting layer to this game as well. Because I think that the kill in the second period where Manson and Makar have 2 really great shorthanded chances points to what you're saying about the effort that was dialed in after that point when Trent Miner got a net.
Yeah. And again, Trent Miner is, he'll be going back to Loveland once Mackenzie Blackwood is ready. So this isn't, I'm sure I haven't seen it, but I'm sure there's people out there in the far reaches of the internet like start Trent Miner. Well, he may get in a game this weekend. Jared Bednar said they aren't sure yet if they're taking Mackenzie Blackwood on the trip yet. So we may see Trent Miner in this back-to-back. But, Meghan, more than anything else for me, that performance for Trent Miner last night, I think maybe gave the Avs, a little bit of confidence. Like, all right, he's fine as a 3. For the NHL club right now. You don't need to, and again, not that this was a conversation yet, or you don't need to go out and spend an asset at the deadline to go bring in a third goalie. Like Trent's all right for right now. You know, he can come in and give you decent minutes, and
yeah, he can come in and stop Alexander Ovechkin. He's fine, you guys.
Right. So you know, good on him. But let's talk about Val Nichushkin, because that the first goal that he scores in an immediate response to Carolina's game opening goal was just vintage Val Nichushkin. I don't know how you defend that. And then, I mean, just again, just a dog around the net all night long. Eventually is able to clean it up and get the Avs tied with just a few minutes left. That version of Val Nichushkin, Megan, that version of Val Nichushkin is the version of Val Nichushkin that when we talked about Mikko Rantanen versus Val Nichushkin a couple months ago with Arif, that is what we are talking about. And it's not just Mikko Rantanen. You'd be hard-pressed to take a lot of players over the version that you saw of Val last night.
Yeah, that was a lot for Carolina to handle. And ultimately, I think that's why he's the player to break through in this game. Finishes with a team high 7 shots on net, tied with Victor Olsson, who I think quietly continues to be a really great addition to this group. But focusing on Val Nichushkin, 7 shots, 2 takeaways. You see the power in which he plays with. It is a lot to handle. It's hard for teams to contain him when he is playing like that, because he asserts himself, whether it is at the net front or driving to inner ice. He just powers his way through, and he's relentless.
I mean, that first goal, what do you do? Like, if you're a defender, what do? You're essentially shoulder to shoulder with him.
Oh, this one was so good.
Skating down the wall. He just takes those couple hard strides. You know, he puts that puck on the outside and he just drops his shoulder and just starts driving. And it's like, all you can do is exactly what the Carolina defender tried to, which is a 2-hand chop across the hands. And even that, Val is so big. He's so strong. You can't knock him off the puck. He gets that wide stance. You can't get inside. And then the hands. Pull it backhand. And I mean, shelf on Freddie Anderson from within 3 feet. That's an elite power forward right there. That is just making an elite level play.
It's why that line, I think, can be effective too, because Brock Nelson is battling for that puck against Aho to start this play, and Val Nichushkin comes in as support and added pressure. You know, that puck goes airborne, comes back down, and Walker briefly has it on his stick, and that's when Val Nichushkin just powers ahead between now both Aho and Walker, kind of splitting them. And there just wasn't a prayer. Because of the sheer force that he is, and then the skill to move the puck to his backhand across the crease and just make that shot more of a threat too. I think is the combination then of the finesse of Val Nichushkin and the power of Val Nichushkin.
Yep, no, absolutely. The Avs were able to get it tied overtime, very non-traditional overtime. We did not see any 3-on-3.
Look at the penalty summary.
If my memory serves me right, because there was a penalty that carried over from regulation to overtime, and then during the 4-on-4, after that penalty expired, another penalty was taken. I believe we only got 4-on-3 or 4-on-4. Maybe the last 45 seconds were 3-on-3. Maybe. But either way, that's where I think you got to give a huge, huge shout out to the Avs penalty kill. 4-on-3 is statistically the most dangerous power play in hockey, even more so than 5-on-3s, because there's just more ice, more room to move. The 4 can kind of compress the 3 a little bit more. And the Avs stood tall and killed 2 penalties in overtime, including a full 2 minutes that they had to survive. Trent Miner made a couple big saves, but really just good sticks in lanes, getting pucks up and out quickly. The Avs did what they needed to do.
Is some of that carryover from the penalty at the end of the third?
Yep.
Here's why I hate it. Because that Jack Drury call is bad.
Yeah.
The Jack Drury call is bad. And I'm really monkey pawing this, but you don't have Brock Nelson defending as hard as he is and high sticking a guy if he's not defending Jack Drury's stupid penalty.
What is monkey pawing?
It's like where there's 2 fates and you're like, you could have this, but it comes at the expense of this. And it's like, this thing sounds really good, but this outcome that it comes at the expense of is not so good.
Okay. All right.
And I don't actually know what would have happened if Jack Drury didn't get called for that bad penalty.
I don't actually know what monkey pawing means. I just made that up. That was what I thought you were going to say.
First of all, I'm allowed to make up words. Second of all, I don't actually know what would have happened if Jack Drury didn't get called for this penalty. But I can say Brock Nelson, both his penalties are born from like a kind of a panicked defense. And that's typically where penalties are born. But like usually a responsible player taking penalties like that. The high sticking one, I'm going to be honest, it's totally a high stick. I'm not defending him for it.
So I didn't see it. And it was one of those things where you and I always like joke when it happens, where especially when we're in the press box, we have 5 screens to see the replay. And sometimes you're just always looking at the wrong one and you end up missing it everywhere.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I had that moment with the Brock Nelson high sticking where every time I kept looking up, his stick was on the ice. So I was like, did he actually hit him? Because like from every bit that I've seen, he didn't. And 2 people were like, yeah, he definitely got him. I was like,
pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to be in control of your stick. Look, I'm not trying to defend the blatant high stick. I'm just wondering, in a world where he's not on the kill late in a game that they've clawed their way back into, if he's defending in that way.
Can we also talk about what cowards these refs were last night, and that we should have had 2 penalty shots in that game? The first Brock Nelson penalty should have been a penalty shot. And then Val Nichushkin getting absolutely mugged for 90 feet while on a partial breakaway. I mean, that could have been, and hey, credit to Chatfield, in for a penny, in for a pound. He knew he was beat. He grabbed on in the neutral zone and was like, well, they already called me, so I'm just not letting go. And he didn't, but I thought Hartford should have had a penalty shot. I thought Quebec should have had a penalty shot.
I mean, we're playing so many hypotheticals. This is fun. But all right. So
it would have been even more fun had the refs cared about fun for everyone in the building at all.
I agree, Jesse. But no, shout out to the penalty kill. In that overtime period in particular, I was a wreck. My heartbeat, whatever, was probably not healthy. Really proud of them for that. And this is so triggering though. It's like, wow, this was a really impressive comeback. What a great kill. Really gutsy. Goals for another great Marty Netchis goal. Val Nichushkin's playing out of his mind. He's a force to be reckoned with, and they just fall short in the shootout. Yeah, it's just like, I can't go through this again in the first round. I can't. I can't do it.
Hey, good news is no 3-on-3, no shootouts in the playoffs. Marty Netchis, the one goal for the Avs that we did gloss over, he does get a goal against the Carolina Hurricanes. I have to imagine that felt pretty good for him. The Selly on it would suggest that, yeah, he liked that one a lot.
It was really high skill. He made Stahl look kind of silly.
Yeah, no, for sure. What else you got on this one, Megan? They moved to 5-0-3. It's still them in Vegas, the only teams left without a regulation loss. Jared Bednar, Gabe Landeskog, and Trent Miner all said it's a resilient group. And I think despite the way the first period started, casual, sloppy, whatever word you want to use, you have to give them credit for getting back in this game and continuing to get a point. That's what good teams do, is you find a way. Logan O'Connor, don't have my A game, got to find a way to bring my B game. I thought by the time that game ended, the Avs found a way to average back out to a B grade and get a point out of it against a very good Carolina team that has the defensive prowess to lock it down a bit once they get out to it, especially a 3-goal lead so early.
There's still important lessons. Like, I look at what Carolina ran into trouble with in the playoffs, and they couldn't get scoring. So I look at teams that get rewarded because they don't cheat the game and they have that attention to detail, that high buy-in. I think of Carolina as being this type of team, right? But coming up with the goals in a timely manner is important too. And so the Avs at least demonstrate that aptitude in this game. That's important. That is still a valuable skill. The other part of it, though, is not cheating the game, even for a brief period in the first. And so that's going to be the important takeaway that I want to see them continue to learn from as we move forward into the regular season. That's what this is for. That's why I'm trying not to panic and get triggered over the playoffs, because Utah to this game, it's like, all right, some of these are self-inflicted. I really want to see them clean that up. That is fixable. though. And similarly, like the power play breaking through opposite a very good penalty kill, that's significant to me too. Power play, special teams, they're a little funny that way. It takes the dam breaking, a little bit of confidence for them to go on a roll. So if they go on a roll, like you said, like go into the very next power play that you get with that shooting mentality. I like the high risk, high reward mentality. They could be in a good spot.
Like I want to see a clean face-off win and Cale Makar just take 2 running steps into us. Just put it on net. Even if it's right into the goalie's chest and you've got to just redo a draw, send the message of like, hey, we can shoot it too. I also think, Megan, and I think you just nailed it. That also looks like a power play right now and a group of players that are squeezing the stick a little bit. They know that the power play hasn't been working and they're thinking a little bit too much. Maybe getting that goal later in the game gives them a little bit of confidence as a reminder, hey, there is a formula here to putting up offense. We just got to dial in what that is. Megan, what else you got?
Okay, I think that was everything. I think that was everything. I didn't talk about Danson Manson, but I've just liked what we've seen of him the last couple of games. We don't normally get to see that in regular season. Like that's kind of playoff for Manson.
Well, and does it feel a little bit to you? Because he's been playing with Burns, he's been playing on his offside, and I wonder if there's a little bit of that, like, you know, Josh Manson has had to be the sturdy, stable presence on most pairings he's played on since arriving in Colorado. And I just wonder if that's a little bit of like, couple big guys out here. I trust, you know, who's Brent Burns has been really good for the Avs start this year. Like, I trust him. I trust this group. Like, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to tap into my inner Sam Girard here and just start twirling all over the ice. He looks great. He looks great right now. Shout out to our guy, Dan, when we were in our group chat last night going over, you know, who could we talk to? He was like, off the board. Josh Manson's been really good these last few games. And I thought that was a great call out.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's about it. Like they have the back-to-back
and
they've recalled Daniil Gushin, who is leading the league in the American League in scoring. I think it's 6 goals in 5 games. I have mixed feelings about it. We'll see. And Jack Sean gets recalled. I think, you know, just because of the back-to-back, they want some extra bodies. And with some guys on IR in Logan O'Connor, Gilkivy Ronta, Sam Girard, they can afford to do it. So,
and I just want to put this out there. Evan and I talked about it on Monday, that Kibby, you know, lower body injury. He had been seen in a brace. He's not wearing the brace as often anymore. He looks like he's moving a little bit better. Seen him in the workout room. So I think, you know, we don't have a timeline on
proof
that.
Of life.
Yeah, but he's working his way back. And again, high praise for Gavin Brindley last night from Jared Bednar again. Just continuing to give them, you know, a bit of an option.
Second power play, some PK reps, significant situations to be putting him in at this level. I'm not sure what the future holds for him, but I think that he's doing everything that he can to make a strong case for himself.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end it there. We wanted to make sure we, you know, gave that game proper time because it was a crazy game last night. She's Megan. I'm Jesse. We got I think John and Ashley back there. I'm not sure who's actually in the seat, but Megan, I'm actually gonna end today's show on a little bit of a personal note for me. And just one, just because it's something that I want to you know, just talk about and acknowledge, and two, let people know that I might be a little spotty here over the next couple weeks. This morning, my family lost my last grandparent. My mom's mom, my grandma, passed away this morning at the age of 97. And you know, I'm really lucky because my family moved away from where the rest of my family lives when I was just 2. And I think that there's that can create a natural tendency to you know, grow apart a bit from your family and not see people as much. And there's kind of a natural built-in excuse. My grandma and my grandpa, until he passed away about 13 years ago, came up to see us 6 times a year. And she made sure that it didn't matter how far we were separated by. She was there for every major life event, every birthday, for my whole family, high school graduation, college graduations, weddings, as my sisters have had kids, she was there for all of them. And when my grandpa passed away, she did everything she can to never change that and just be there for us in a way that I don't know if I ever fully appreciated how lucky I was to have not only have that relationship, but have someone who's willing to do that. If you were lucky enough to meet her, she was genuinely one of the kindest, softest, gentlest people I've ever met in my life. And, Meghan, I find joy and peace knowing that she's, back reunited with my grandpa. She had a tough life. She lost her mom at 12. So, she's getting to, be with them today and we find peace in that. But I just wanted to, I loved her very much. And I've been thinking about her all week. And I'm thinking about my mom a lot today, who lost her mom this morning. So we'll leave it at that. 97 years old, very lucky. And we will miss her and the world will be a little bit dimmer for her loss, but we love her very much. And we're very lucky that we got as much time with her as we did. So thank you all for tuning in today. That's how we're going to go ahead and leave today's show. 97, my grandma passed away this morning. So thank you all very much for listening. We'll talk to you guys later.